What's going on there, YouTube? Back again on the number 2 rat rod build. Last video we put the motor in, the scale V8, the scale diesel engine, and we melted some goods off of it. But it's all going to work out because we can do whatever we want in this scale. So I'm thinking the next step for me is going to be the bed. I'm kind of, after I built the first one, I had a kind of an idea of a different flow of the build, different things to do first, different order to build everything, and I'm not following that at all. Every build is different. This build is leading me down a different path, and it's got its own quirks, its own needs, so it's kind of what I'm learning as I'm doing these scratch builds. Is just there's no wrong way to do it. There's no right way. There's just little bumps along the way. So I still haven't mounted the body, but the body sits nice and snug on the frame. The frame is the perfect length for it. That space in the middle. The motor sets pretty good. It left me enough room for a grill above the servo. I do have a little bit of clearance issue here with my turbo. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to keep that turbo. I've got some ideas. If you've been following along on Cyanide Tube's build, or his other build that he's not really videoing, he did some scale turbo from some keychains. And he talked to me about that a long time ago. I really don't want to do a whole lot of extra detail on the motor because it's just stuff that's going to break off when I wreck it. I don't get out there and bash these. I mean, I've only driven my other hot rod twice and I broke the grill, but that's another story. But yeah, I don't know. That turbo could be moved, and then we'd have no issues with a flat firewall. We could always make a recess in the firewall to clear the turbo. We'll worry about that when we get there. But this video I want to make a bed. And what I've got here, I think I've talked about it once or twice. I used to restore vintage Tonka trucks from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Mainly the 50s. That's the prime era. And this is a bed from one of those trucks. And let me show you one of those real quick. Alright, so this is a 60. I believe a 60 or 61. It's been a while since I've messed with these. And you can see how the bed works. They have, it's all pressed steel. It's got fenders. This is actually a really nice truck. I have this one on display in my living room. Yeah, I used to fix them up and restore them, and I've got buckets of parts still laying around. I've got bins with headlights and grills and bumpers and hubcaps and windshields and stuff that are usable. This bed is pretty heavily pitted. It's been sandblasted and primered, and then somebody started filling some of the bad pits. But I'm just gonna, I've got to hack it all up for this anyway, so no big deal. I'm sandblast it back down, and I'm planning on just leaving it bare metal. I'm gonna grind it with a soft grinder wheel, and kind of like I did the chassis, and leave it like it is. Let it rust naturally. But yeah, this is an all original truck. There's nothing done to it other than cleaned it. This is the kind of stuff that I used to do with these. That one I made, it's custom. It's mix and match parts. It's about the same year body style, but I did cut the entire chassis and the bed down to make a short bed, and it's got a nice little hot rod stance, bigger tires and wheels in the back from a different brand of pressed steel truck, and it's one of my favorites there. But yeah, I've got some shelves in my living room where I've got all my few pieces. I used to have hundreds of these things. I was one of the largest part suppliers in the country for a while on these vintage trucks, just supplying remanufactured parts and stuff like that. But yeah, times changed. I had some life changes, so I ended up selling off most of my collection. This is just stuff that I've reaccumulated here in the past few years or so. But yeah, they're fun, but they're not RC. So we'll get those out of here, and we'll start looking at how we're going to cut this bed to fit the rat rod. Alright, so remember from when we built the chassis, the frame rails in the rear are a little too high. They I overestimated how much of a step I would need in the back for the rear suspension. But I'm not going to come back and cut it and try to re-weld it and all that right now. So we're just going to roll with it. The frame rails are about at the top of where I want the bed sides to be. So bed will sit about yay high. And I think that'll look right. So what I'm going to do, instead of actually trying to make the bed and keep the floor and everything, I'm just going to cut the bed sides off and use those like they are. I think it'll give me the look I want, and it'll leave my rear suspension exposed, which I want, because I don't know what I'm going to do yet for suspension, but if it's anything close to what I did on the first build, I don't want to hide it again, because the other hot rod over there is, the suspension on it is spectacular. I couldn't be more proud of my suspension work on that build. So I don't want to hide the suspension on this one. It may not be quite as awesome, but at least it won't be hidden. So I'm gonna spend some time breathing in Dremel dust, and I'm just gonna cut the bed sides off of this, and then we'll look at drilling some holes and bolting it down or riveting it. I'm not sure yet. Alright guys, well that metal cut really nice with my bandsaw. I was surprised. So, got my bedside here. I'm thinking something like this. Let me see if I can, here, I know what to do. These little clamps I have are so handy. I'm going to use a smaller one so it's not in the way of the camera. Got these, I keep them on my light here in the workshop. And they just come in handy all the time. Messed up a few of them with brazing, but anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I've got a few existing holes there where the rear cross member and my upper link mounts are already drilled and mounted through. Oh, I'm not sure if I want to bring the bed down a little bit. I think it's okay where it is. So I don't need a whole lot of mounts. I don't need a bunch of screws. I'm still waiting. I ordered these dang lock nuts, M3 lock nuts from China. I didn't mean to buy them from China. I bought them on Amazon thinking they were local. So I don't have any lock nuts right now. I've been stealing off of another trail finder I have over here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark some holes and drill some stuff, and we'll start looking at mounting this thing up. Alright guys, so I'm just sitting here playing with this and I had an epiphany. So the bed sides were hitting the truss mount, or your leaf spring purchase, on the axle. That's a Yoda 2 axle. So I moved them out a little bit, and I think right now they're just leaning on the tires. There will be a little bit back, but I think I'm going to space them away from the frame, and I'm only going to mount them in 2 spots. It's going to be front and here at this cross member. They won't be quite that far out. They'll be something like yay far. I can't get them to stay right there. So, and what that is going to do is that's going to leave my stock shock mounts right in this little area between the frame and the bedside. And I just had to saw it as I saw that gap right there, and put my shocks right here and have my cantilever right here and going down to the shock mount. Not going to do that in this video, but I think that might work. If I can find something, I'm running out of stuff since I built the other hot rod. I don't have all the little spacers and axle pieces and rods and 4-link rods and things. I've run out of stuff, but I need to space this out a certain distance, and then I'll be able to come back and add the cantilever shock setup in there. And I think that's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out how to mark this and drill some holes, and then we'll start looking for some spacers. Alright guys, so I am looking at spacers here for the bedsides. I don't have 4 of anything, unfortunately. So I have 2 different lengths here. And I think I'm going to run with the little bit taller in the front because the frame does widen at the rear. I'm hoping these scale bolts from Locked Up RC will be long enough. I have some a little bit longer in case I need it. Yeah, these are from a Tamiya King hauler. Those semi-truck parts, man, I tell you, they come in handy when you're working with leaf springs or scale axles at all. That hardware set. I've built a couple King haulers and a Scania and some other things, and I've got a lot of parts left over, and they've come in really handy with this build and the prior build. So yeah, I'm going to keep the narrow ones at the back. The front ones are from a Tamiya TA02 billet aluminum front steering link set for a chassis I didn't have on my TA02, so they've just been sitting around, and that's what I'm going to run with. I do think I'm going to go ahead and sand these bedsides down, since they are filled with primer and putty. They do look crappy, so I'm going to go ahead and knock those down. I do still have to drill a hole in the front of the frame for these, so that's going to be a challenge, but like I said, we'll get there when we get there. Alright guys, so I've rigged up a little deal here. I got my Makita. This is well, it's supposed to stay in there. Sanding disc, 3M. Trying to get it to clamp into the chuck on my drill because I don't have the right whatever it's supposed to fit. And I'm going to use this to sand the bedsides down, if I can get it to stay together. So, give this a shot. That ain't going to work. Let's see what else we can come up with. Alright guys, so I got the bedsides sanded down a little bit. They're not perfect. That was less than an art. I couldn't keep that grinding wheel on the drill, but I've got my side up here, and I've got my bolt through for my rear cross member. It is not where it's going to be, but I'm keeping it close to the frame rail so I can mark and drill my hole. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll swap it all out for longer bolts with our spacers and see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes in the frame next. Alright guys, so this is what I've got so far. I may come back once I get some more parts in the mail and reduce the distance between the frame rails and the bed sides. I still don't have the front bolted down. I just have the bolts through with the spacers, so they're kind of loose. They may not be perfectly straight. So what I'm thinking here, let me bring you around the other side. What I'm thinking is the Cantilever Setup. I may end up doing away with these mounts up here and just doing shimmed shocks right there. And they will sit down in there. I will have my pivot point here, and that is directly above the shock mount on the axle. And I think that's pretty freaking awesome that worked out like that. Just, you know, this is kind of stuff you can't plan for. You're just kind of making it up as you go. This is the RC engineering that I'll keep tagging everything with. It's just kind of happy accidents. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this one here, and the next will be the rear suspension. And I'm going to go ahead and I got to order some more shims for like I don't remember what they're for. It's RC 4-wheel drive stuff that I had left over from kits. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeter shims that were for the suspension on like the July 2 and shock spacers and stuff like that. And that's what I've been using to do my cantilever setup on the other hot rod. So it'll be probably a looks like maybe a 5mm on both sides of the shock. Run the bolt through, nut on the inside, and then I will try to make some more cantilever plates. I'm out of the stuff that I used on the other ones, which were the Tamiya semi-truck U-bolt or brackets, the plates for the bottom of the front axle. So I may have to try to source out some more of those. I believe these are 90mm RC four-wheel drive shocks. I bought these to replace some I stole from the K10 build, but obviously that's not happened. So I keep doing hot rods. So yeah, that's when I'm gonna wrap this one. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more to come. Got a long way to go on this build still. And sneak peek, I'm thinking about starting the next hot rod build before this one is complete. It will be the yellow body from Nightcrawler's 3D, the 32 Vicky body. I am considering doing a rock bouncer type hot rod, rat rod thing. I don't know yet. Did some sketches, didn't come out very well. Looking at what I've got, I have my Jalon 2 chassis that my cruiser was on, and also I've got axles, transfer case, transmission, all that. So I'm not sure yet where we're going to go with that, but I am in the works of starting the third rat rod build here at RC Everyday. So anyways, you guys check out the pictures. I've got photos up at flickr.com/strangely_different. And follow along on Instagram. It's RC Everyday. And if you want to, add me on Facebook. It's Joshua Dutton. Or RC Everyday. I come up under both when you search. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. See you all in the next video.